Hello all, it's me again. I just really quickly want to talk to you about ways in which rewarding employees and recognizing positive contributions and good work and hard work is really important for you as a business. I'm sure you already know this, but rewarding employees and recognizing them goes a long way towards making your company an employee-centric one and really valuing your staff. I'm going to talk about in this lots of different ways and sort of more alternative ways that you can maybe reward your employees. So by the end of the session, I want you to be able to list at least 2 new ways in which you could reward your employees or 2 ways in which you can enhance recognition within your business. After all, who doesn't like hearing that they're doing a good job? Firstly, I want to talk to you about recognition and the power of recognition, as there have been lots of surveys and lots of research into the matter, and pretty much all have found that recognition above money is a far greater motivating factor for people wanting to be in work and do a good job. You need to make sure when giving recognition that the recognition aligns with your company's goals and its values, as that will help project your employees in the right way and the right way you want them to go with their journey in line with the company. It's also really important when giving recognition to be specific. Being specific not only reinforces those particular behaviours, but it also shows an employee that you're paying attention to them. And I don't mean that in like a weird, creepy way that you're like lurking outside their cubicle, not like that. But it shows that you value them as a person and it shows that you pay attention to the finer details. For example, if you have an employee who does a presentation to the rest of the team, tell them they did a good job. Tell them they did a good job overall if they did, but also be specific. Say that you really liked the way the slides were put together or the way they carried themselves or certain anecdotes that they said. Be specific in your feedback. Your employees will value it. Also, make sure you're being timely with your praise. So don't just praise your staff at the end of a project and be like, oh, the finished product's really good, well done. Praise them as you go through. Also, make sure if you are needing to have maybe some of those tougher conversations about maybe recognizing sort of more unwanted behaviors in the workplace, you don't do it in a public format or a public forum. We're not here to embarrass employees. That is the last thing you should ever do. Make sure you do it in a private space. It doesn't need to be the office. As I said, I'd really like you to create managers' offices as a neutral environment for all and not one that's quite intimidating and that people associate with negative feelings. But just make sure you do that in a private space. With recognition, it's also important to make sure it's given frequently enough, but not too infrequently, which is quite common. But also, you're not, oh, good job, good job, good job after every time someone breathes, because the level of recognition and will start to sort of lose its worth. Which is why on the next slide I sort of talked about different alternative ways that you can reward and recognise your staff, because I think that's really important to keep it different and keep it mixed and keep it interesting. In terms of as a company, as well as individually recognizing when people do good work, it's really important to also recognize where your company is as a whole and keep people in the loop. If they can't place themselves in the context of a wider space, a wider forum, people won't really know what's going on and won't really have an understanding of their impact necessarily. So if a team does a really, really good job, for example, creating a new product, as I said, let the rest of the team know. Send out an email, shout about it, let everyone else know that that team has done a really good job on something they have worked really hard on. Also, it's also really important to recognise just where your company is as a whole and your goals, because if people don't know what goals you're working towards, they don't know how to angle what they're doing. It's also really important with recognition to recognise failure and to recognise failure in terms of a positive. I really want with this as well, you guys to start with your company making people look at failure as a positive thing in some ways. Okay, failure isn't positive, I appreciate that. But have people look at it that it's something to learn from and it's something you can build and support each other with. And it can make your sort of workforce closer. If they work together on problem solving, that is super powerful. You want to harness an environment that supports employees and helps them bounce back from any mistakes. Now, I just want to quickly move on to different ways in which, or sort of more alternative ways in which, or just reminders of ways you can recognise and reward your employees. So celebrating birthdays and other personal milestones in the workplace can be super powerful and shows that you value your employees. This is why I talked about getting to know them, getting to know your staff. It shows that you appreciate them and it shows that you want to promote their well-being. You could book off people's birthdays in advance, for example. I know companies like Pets at Home already do this. They automatically book your birthday off. So just celebrating if people get married or have a baby, just sending around a card, something like that, can actually really mean a lot. It's also really important to value people's professional milestones because you are a company and this is in the context of work. So if someone has a promotion, is this their first year anniversary of working for the company? Is it their fifth? What can you do to reward them and recognise those professional achievements? It could be a card again. But think of other ways that you can do this. Could you provide people with extra holiday, for example, for certain years' level of service? My company does that. Once you've worked for the company for 5 years, you get an extra 5 days holiday. Once you've worked for the company for 10 years, you get 10 days holiday, and so on and so forth. Something else that you can do, which I absolutely love, is make a brag board. So this isn't to just make everyone really big-headed, but the brag board is there for you to encourage your managers and other members of staff, like co-workers, who are on the same level of each other, to pin up on the board something they think someone else has done well, or even just write a post-it note of something they think someone has done well. I think using this brag board is really powerful, as it is a collaborative effort to recognise and reward positive engagement and behaviour. And it sounds really small. I know personally, if I saw someone who put something about me on that, I would love that and it would really motivate me. Please and thank you. Never forget how valuable saying please and thank you is to people. Manners literally cost nothing. Monopoly money. This is something else that I found and I loved. So monopoly money, I mean that in terms of create your own currency. So we talk about how money doesn't necessarily incentivize people. I'm not saying don't pay people more money when they do a good job or things they do. That obviously is a motivator. Like money, you do need money. But creating your own currency in work is also something quite fun that you could do. For example, you could create monopoly money or whatever company money you would like, which you could give to people in recognition or reward of when they've done good work. They could then keep this and then they could cash it in for different incentives. And then you could value them, whether it be something for their desk and some sort of new like stationery that they would personally quite like, or like a mug or something quite funky, whether it could be for memberships to like a gym, or if they save up enough, maybe an extra holiday day. What could you create a currency for in your business that people could then cash in? I think that's a really fun and interesting idea. An internal newsletter, that is also another good way that you could promote employee recognition and rewards. So on the employee newsletter, you could do it weekly or bi-weekly, and you could send out little articles on when people have done a really good job on something or what people are working on, so other people can see what other departments have got going on. In that, you could do it online, and you could also create it so it can become a feedback hub, so you can gain information from your employees. Bring the snacks. Who doesn't love having some donuts at work? Just simple things like bringing snacks to meetings can actually also be quite a good way and a fun way to sort of reward your staff. I've seen a few companies do like donut hour, where they bring in donuts and then they get everyone together and they just have like a chat, and they're not allowed to talk about work. Might not be for an hour, but you could do that every Friday. Everyone in a department gets together for 15 minutes and they're not allowed to talk about anything work related, only personal, over a cup of tea and a coffee. There are some more ways that I've linked here on the 40 ways to show love to your employees. I definitely recommend going onto that hyperlink and having a look, because there are so many brilliant ideas of ways in which you can recognise your staff. So that is all from me today in terms of recognition and rewards, guys. I hope I haven't necessarily reinvented the wheel here, but I hope I have reinforced you the importance of valuing your staff and showing them that you value them. You might think that, yeah, I value them, like they're great and so's brilliant. Do they know that? Do they know that you care? If people aren't recognised, turnover will be higher because they'll be like, why am I bothering? Why am I bothering doing this? No one cares. So I hope after this little talk today, you have been able to think about 2 ways and list in your mind 2 ways in which you can reward and recognise good work in your business. Thank you very much, guys. Hope you enjoy the rest.